Welcome back to the Flying with a Flock podcast, the best place to get all of your Eagles and NFL related news. I'm your host, Matt. And ladies and gentlemen, your Philadelphia Eagles hosted a block party at the Link on Sunday night, but we will get more into that in a second. Before jumping into this week's episode, if I could ask you all to leave a like and subscribe down below, that would be much appreciated. Your support goes a long way, and I would not be past episode 50 without you. So, without further ado, let's hop right into this weekend's Eagles game. So, your Philadelphia Eagles beat the Detroit Lions 16-9 on Sunday Night Football. It was not a pretty game, and it was a very defensive game. Looking at the stats first, Jalen Hurts went 14 of 28, 135 yards through the air. Saquon Barkley was the lead rusher. He had 26 carries for 83 yards. Tank Bigsby had 4 carries for 34 yards. And Jalen Hurts had 10 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, A.J. Brown was the lead receiver with 7 receptions for 49 yards. Jahan Dotson had 2 receptions for 43 yards. Dallas Goedert, 2 receptions for 24 yards. And Devontae Smith, 1 reception for 8 yards. This Eagles defense, though, is where it kind of all came together. There was only 2 sacks on Jared Goff, technically, but the amount of times that they just kept hitting Jared Goff was insane to me. They also forced 1 interception, that being Cooper DeJean getting his 2nd career interception. But the story of the day is the Eagles hosting a block party on defensive line there. They kept on batting that ball and blocking the ball when Jared Goff tried to throw, to the point where Jared Goff, who's having a season with a career-high completion percentage with 74%, went less than 50% completion. And that's due to 5 big blocks, 3 by Jordan Davis, 2 by, where's the man? 2 by Jalen Carter. And these 2 guys haven't had to worry about penetrating the front of the offensive line, that being the guard and that being the centers, or the guards and the center, but it's really the edge rushers, Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith, Jalen Phillips, and Nakobe Dean, who all continue to find the holes or just get off the edge so fast that it forces the quarterback to throw an incomplete pass. Speaking of the Lions quarterback, Jared Goff, he went 14 for 37, 255 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception on the day. This Eagles offense contained Jahmyr Gibbs here. He only had 12 carries for 39 yards. David Montgomery only had 6 carries for 27 yards. Receiving-wise, that's where they kind of struggled to contain Jahmyr Gibbs. Yes, they did it how they would traditionally contain a running back. But Jahmyr Gibbs was the lead receiver with 5 receptions for 107 yards. Jamison Williams had 4 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 2 receptions for 42 yards. And that's really anybody of note in the receiving game. Defensive-wise, they were not able to sack Jalen Hurts once, and they were very poor at stopping Jalen Hurts' scrambles. But their secondary, for how banged up it is, I have to give them credit. They were able to get their secondary players. Rock Ya-Sin, who's a backup corner. Guys like that really stepped up to kind of shut down this Eagles passing offense, which is not too hard to do anyway. Alright, so let's jump into a deeper analysis here. So, starting off with the Lions, Jared Goff, although he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion, he's top 12. He still struggles in the big moments against other top-tier teams. And the Eagles, especially their defense right now, is a top tier unit. He had several chances to go out and put the Lions in a closer game or take the lead even early on. So it kind of just boggles my mind that Dan Campbell couldn't have called a better a game, and Jared Goff just missed it. Rushing wise, yeah, there could have been a lot of better stuff. When Jahmyr Gibbs rushes for less than 50 yards in a game, Detroit has lost every single time this season. Receiving team did all right. I mean, your big guys, your Jameson Williams and Monroe St. Brown's really stepped up with Sam Laporta being out. And obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs burnt the Eagles secondary, which is something that they're going to have to work on, which is one of their only weak spots so far after coming out of the break and only allowing 16 combined points. And like I said earlier, this Lions defense was banged up. Now, this Eagles offense has two chances to really get it going over the next 2 weeks. The Lions game or the Cowboys game. Both secondaries are absolutely atrocious. So if they couldn't get it going during this game and they can't get it going during next game, we're going to have a problem. Ultimately, this, like I was saying, this Lions secondary really stepped up when it mattered most. And this Lions defensive line wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. This Lions defensive line that is notoriously known for putting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, did not step up when it mattered most. So Kelvin Shepard, the defensive coordinator for the Lions, did an amazing job preparing his defensive backs and even his linebackers as well, especially his upright linebackers or off middle linebackers. He got them really prepared for whatever the Eagles could have thrown at them. He did not prepare his defensive line for whatever the Eagles could throw at him. So that ultimately was what the problem became there. Eagles offense. I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse. We all know what needs to be fixed. Kevin Fatua needs to call better route combinations to get guys open. He needs to call quarterback options so they can get the defense looking at Hurts, scared of Hurts' legs, so Saquon can open up his game a little bit more. Again, it just comes down to offensive coordinator. If he can pull his shit together, then we might actually be okay. But ultimately, I don't see them doing that here. And that starts to scare me a little bit. Is Hurts has a 50% completion rating. He forced Hurts to throw close to 30 times, which is not a way to win. You have to use Hurts and his legs to open up the run game, then use the run game to open up the pass game. It's not this hard. And if I can see that, and if almost every single Eagles fan can see that, we have a serious problem. We have to start talking about, should Nick Sirianni take over play calling duties at this point, week 11 or whatever, or week 12, whatever we're going into. I think it's week 12. We really have to bring in the question here of, should Sirianni take over the play calling for the rest of the season? And then we find a new offensive coordinator that actually has experience, maybe like a Mike McDaniels or a Brian Daboll, if he's willing to come back. Can we find guys like that to help bring a new wrinkle to this Eagles offense? Obviously, there's a whole thing with A.J. Brown last week. I'm not going to touch on it because I don't really care. Because he's not wrong. Yeah, he could have gone about it better, but he's not wrong. So why am I going to lamb-blast a guy who's just looking to get his stats up so he can actually make a living for his family? What am I, like, that egotistical? So, yeah, we're not even going to touch on that. As a whole, this Eagles game was fairly disappointing. I was expecting more out of the Eagles, especially the offense, against a banged up Lions secondary. And now we're coming into a Cowboys game who now these guys are playing with a little bit of moxie now. If I go, yes, they're only 4-5-1, but they just had the passing of one of their younger players on the team, and so I feel like now they're going to try to play with a little bit of house money, so we have to stay ahead of the 8 ball. If this defense shows up from the rest of the way on, we can beat any team. But the offense has to show up as well. It cannot just be the defense moving forward. Alright, so let's move on to some of this past weekend's games, and then we'll get into some quick notes. I really don't have that much, but we'll get into that as soon as we get to it. Thursday Night Football, we have the New England Patriots beating the New York Jets 27-14. Justin Fields looked okay at best. He went 15 for 26, 116 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. On the ground, he also had 11 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown. Ultimately being quite productive, especially on the ground. Breece Hall only had 14 carries for 58 yards. That's a problem. They should have gotten the ball to their top running back a bit more there. Receiving-wise, their top receiver was John Mechie, who had 3 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown on the night. Mason Taylor had 4 receptions for 30 yards. Jeremy Rutger had 4 receptions for 23 yards. And that's anybody else I'm really going to touch on here. And defensive-wise, they were able to sack Drake May once. And they were able to apply a little bit of pressure to the quarterback. But it wasn't an insane amount to the point that Drake May couldn't play his best ball. And speaking of Drake May, he went 25 for 34, 281 yards and 1 touchdown. Rushing-wise, their lead rusher is Trevion Henderson. He had 19 carries for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Stephon Diggs, who had 9 receptions for 105 yards. Mac Hollins had 4 receptions for 64 yards. Hunter Henry had 4 receptions for 45 yards. Demario Douglas had 3 receptions for 36 yards. And Trevion Henderson had 5 receptions for 31 yards and a touchdown. Look what happens when you get Trevion Henderson the ball, Mike Vrabel. Magic things happen. And defensive-wise, they were able to sack Justin Fields quite a few times, ultimately sacking him thrice. And yeah, they were not able to force any turnovers, but they were able to just put this Jets offense to a dead stop time after time. Patriots, they have arguably the easiest schedule remaining left. They have the Bengals, they have the Giants, they have the Bills, they have the Ravens, they have the Jets, and they have the Dolphins. Realistically, they could probably go 4-2 in that stretch at worst, in my opinion. So it kind of tells me that they're going to waltz into that number 1 overall seed in the AFC, ultimately bringing back the fears that another New England dynasty is on the horizon for many NFL fans. The Jets, y'all fall to 2-8. With the Ravens, Falcons, Dolphins, Jaguars, Saints, Pats, and Bills remaining. And so some of those games could be winnable. Maybe the Falcons, maybe the Dolphins, maybe the Saints. But other than that, y'all are kind of just tanking and see if y'all can get a high draft pick. And I can't really blame you at this point. There's quite a few teams doing it, so I'm not going to throw shade in your direction for doing it. Next up, we had the first ever NFL Madrid game here, with the Miami Dolphins being victorious over the Washington Commanders 16-13 in overtime. The Dolphins had Tua Tagovailoa. He went 14 for 20, 171 yards through the air. On the ground, Devon Achane did a lot of the damage. He had 21 carries for 120 yards. Ollie Gordon also had 9 carries for 45 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Jalen Waddle. He had 3 receptions for 52 yards. Devon Achane had 5 receptions for 45 yards. Malik Washington had 3 receptions for 42 yards. And Greg Dulcich had 2 receptions for 18 yards. That's really anybody of note there. Defensive-wise, they were able to get 1 sack and also 1 interception off of Marcus Mariota. And so they were able to slow down this Cliff Cliff Kingsbury led offense of the Commanders, which is kind of rare, but with the Commanders being 3-8, it's not as rare as you would think this season. Mariota, he went 20 for 30, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. He also had 4 carries for 49 yards on the ground. So it wasn't a horrible day for Marcus Mariota. Just they continued to stall every single time that they got the ball. Their lead rusher was Chris Rodriguez Jr. He had 15 carries for 79 yards. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt had 9 carries for 28 yards. Jeremy McNichols had 4 carries for 13 yards. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Deebo Samuel. He also stepped up with Terry McLaurin being out. He had 7 receptions for 74 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Zach Ertz had 4 receptions for 42 yards with no touchdowns on the day. He almost had 1, and that would help my fantasy team so much more. Thank you, Zach Ertz. Again, it's just a big FU tour of Zach Ertz to me, an Eagles fan, who I still have his Eagles jersey in my closet. So, yeah. Chris Moore had 2 receptions for 28 yards. Jacoby Jones had 1 reception for 25 yards. And Jeremy McNichols had 2 receptions for 16 yards. Also, I just want to note that there's a guy on the Commanders called Colson Yankoff, because that's funny to me. And defensive-wise, they were able to sack Tua 3 times. And were able to apply a little bit of pressure to the quarterback, but it looked like Tua was carving up the Thanksgiving turkey all over this all over this Commanders defense. Overall, Dolphins, y'all have gotten 2 straight wins. One against the Bills, one against the Commanders. One is obviously more impressive than the other. Y'all have the Saints coming up, who the Saints suck. So y'all could have 3 straight wins in theory. And that would ultimately be okay. It's not the best scenario for you guys, in my opinion. I think you guys would rather tank for a better draft spot. And, oh wait, you guys might be able to go on a 4-game win streak, because y'all got Saints, then Jets. And those 2 are easy teams, so y'all could end up at 6-7 by the time that all is said and done at this point in the season. So, we'll see. Commanders obviously are going to continue to slide, especially with Jaden Daniels being injured. And I'm not even sure they're going to bring him back for the season. That's to be determined at this point. But yeah, good win for the Dolphins. Nice try, Commanders fans. Next up, we have the Packers and Giants. Now, the Packers claw away with a last-second victory over the New York Giants, 27-20. Jordan Love, he went 13 for 24, 174 yards, and 2 touchdowns through the air. Malik Willis also came in when Jordan Love got injured a little bit. He went 2 for 2 for 6 yards and 1 touchdown. The lead rusher was Josh Jacobs, who had 7 carries for 40 yards. He also got injured in the second quarter and ultimately had to leave the game and is questionable for this weekend. Emmanuel Wilson became the leading back. He had 11 carries for 40 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Malik Willis also had 1 carry for 16 yards. And I just like to point out Malik Willis because still I think he was a 2013 draft class. Willis draft class. He was the second best quarterback taken in the 2022 draft class, third, behind Kenny Pickett and Will Levis. And supposedly, he's not that good, but every time that he's come on to the played for the Packers, he's actually looked decent, and arguably looked as good as Jordan Love, who continues to put his team in bad positions. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Romeo Doubs with 4 receptions for 53 yards. Christian Watson was right behind him. He had 4 receptions for 46 yards and 2 touchdowns. Savion Williams had 1 reception for 33 yards, and Matthew Golden had 1 reception for 24 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback once. Obviously, it's Jameis Winston. He's going to throw a lot of picks. And they were only able to sack him twice. So I was expecting more pressure coming from this Packers defense, but who knows? With the Giants here, Jameis Winston went 19 for 29, 102 yards, and 1 interception through the air. On the ground, Tyrone Tracy Jr. was the lead rusher. He had 19 carries for 88 yards. Devin Singletary, he had 16 carries for 44 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Jameis Winston had 3 carries for 10 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground as well. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Isaiah Hodgins. He had 5 receptions for 57 yards. Tyrone Tracy Jr. had 4 receptions for 51 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson had 4 receptions for 36 yards. And Theo Johnson had 3 receptions for 36 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback only twice, meaning that this ferocious Giants defensive line should have applied a lot more pressure to this Packers offensive line. But maybe that's what kept that's not what kept them in the game. But maybe they were just able to get stops. I don't know. I wasn't watching this game because I don't like either team. So there you go. Ultimately, I don't know what this game says more about, how bad the Packers are or how good the Giants could be. Obviously, with a change of head coach, it was going to be difficult. It was an uphill battle. Now with Mike Kafka as the interim head coach, he seemed to do a pretty good job calling a good game here. Green Bay, ultimately, I'm concerned. Y'all are 6-3-1. You'll have the Vikings, which could be another close game. The Lions, which I think are going to beat you. The Bears, which I think are going to beat you. The Broncos, which could beat you, though I'm not sure. I don't entirely trust the Broncos, which we'll get into once we get to the Broncos-Chiefs. Another Packers-Bears, Ravens-Packers, and Packers-Vikings. So, if everything goes right for you guys, 0-1, 1-0, 1-0, 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 2-3, 2-4, 2-5. You guys might finish the season at 7-8-1 at worst. So y'all need to hold on for dear life right now, and y'all better hope Jordan Love starts playing better football at this point. Alright, I'm going to blitz through this game. We have the Houston Texans beating the Tennessee Titans 16-13. Davis Mills, he went 26 for 41, 274 yards, and 1 touchdown through the air. On the ground, Jaquavius Marks led the team. He had 18 carries for 44 yards. Receiving-wise, the lead receiver was Nico Collins. He had 9 receptions for 92 yards and 1 touchdown. Jaden Higgins had 4 receptions for 55 yards. Dalton Schultz had 6 receptions for 51 yards. Xavier Hutchinson had 3 receptions for 42 yards. And that's anybody really of note. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback twice. And I was hoping that they were going to apply more pressure to the rookie Cam Ward. But I guess they were just able to get the stops every time to make it a close game or to keep themselves ahead. Speaking of Cam Ward, he went 24-37, 194 yards, and 1 touchdown on the day. He was also their lead rusher with 3 carries for 33 yards, which is very sad. Tony Pollard had 10 carries for 22 yards. Receiving-wise, Chisholm Okonkwo had 3 receptions for 56 yards. He led the team in receiving. Tajay Spears had 5 receptions for 31 yards. Gunnar Helm had 4 receptions for 29 yards. Van Jefferson had 3 receptions for 22 yards and 1 touchdown. And Chimere Dyke had 2 receptions for 14 yards. Also, the team lost Calvin Ridley. He went out with a fibula fracture, and he will be out for the rest of the season. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback quite a few times, registering around 4 sacks on Davis Mills. So that tells me that maybe there might be some magic at Tennessee, but they need a better offensive line, and they need a better secondary moving forward. A running mate for at least L'Jarius Sneed at this point. Texans, y'all don't have C.J. Stroud, but y'all are winning games and getting yourself to 500, which might give you a chance at a wild card spot. And Titans, y'all might have the first overall pick again, so y'all might be able to get either somebody to protect Cam Ward or somebody to catch balls for Cam Ward. Both are very important at this point. Panthers-Falcons. The Panthers beat the Falcons 30-27. Bryce Young, he went 31 of 45, 448 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Rushing, Rico Dowdle had more of a quiet game than usual. He had 19 carries for 45 yards. Receiving-wise, Territo McMillan had himself a day. He had 8 receptions for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Xavier Legette had 4 receptions for 83 yards and 1 touchdown. Rico Dowdle had 5 receptions for 55 yards. Tommy Tremble had 1 reception for 54 yards. And Jalen Coker had 4 receptions for 52 yards. And that's everybody I'm really going to mention here. Defensive-wise, they were able to not sack the quarterback a single time, which explains why it was a close game. But it looks like their secondary just played well enough to quell this powerful Falcons could be powerful Falcons offense. Speaking of the Falcons offense, Michael Penix Jr., he went 13-16, 175 yards through the air. He also got injured and could possibly require season-ending surgery. But Big Kirk Cousins came in. He went 6 of 14, 48 yards through the air. Rushing-wise, their lead rusher was Bijan. He had 23 carries for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Through the air, he also, on the ground also, Tyler Algier had 3 carries for 10 yards and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, Drake London, he had 7 receptions for 119 yards. He also got injured during this game and is questionable for this coming week. Bijan Robinson had 4 receptions for 39 yards. Darnell Mooney had 3 receptions for 34 yards. And Kyle Pitts had 2 receptions for 14 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack Bryce Young a total of 5 to 6 times, meaning that it was fairly impressive that Bryce Young didn't falter when it mattered most, and that he still delivered a good ball to his receivers. Ultimately, Panthers move on to 6-5, and with a schedule like this, 49ers, Rams, Saints, Buccaneers, Seahawks, Buccaneers, they'd be lucky to win more than 3 in the rest of their stretch moving forward. And as much as I would like to see the Panthers succeed, because I would like to see Bryce Young succeed, I just don't think it's going to happen for the rest of the season. And, yeah. On the Falcons side of things, Saints, Jets, Seahawks, Buccaneers, Cardinals, Rams, Saints. You all might be able to push for a wild card spot late, but if anything, it's not going to happen. Next up, we have the Bears. Vikings. Bears beating the Vikings 19-17. Caleb Williams had himself a mediocre day. He went 16 of 32, 193 yards through the air. Rushing-wise is where a lot of the damage was done by this Bears offense. DeAndre Swift had 21 carries for 90 yards. Caleb Williams, he had 4 carries for 26 yards. Kyle Monangae had 12 carries for 23 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Cole Kmet. Nice to see that name pop up again. He had 5 receptions for 45 yards. Rome Odunze had 2 receptions for 41 yards. He was right behind him. Colston Loveland had 3 receptions for 40 yards. Luther Burton, Burden, not Burton. I was thinking of Tom Burton. Tim Burton. Jesus, I can't even speak today. Luther Burton had three receptions for 27 yards, and DJ Moore had 1 reception for 18 yards. Defensive-wise, they were not able to sack J.J. McCarthy, but they were able to pick him off twice. So that kind of tells you that they were able to read essentially the rookie quarterback here in the situation. Speaking of J.J. McCarthy, he almost had an identical stat line to Caleb Williams, just minus some yards and adding 2 interceptions. He went 16 of 32, 150 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions on the day. Their lead rusher was Aaron Jones, who had 16 carries for 70 yards. Jordan Mason also had 6 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson had 5 receptions for 61 yards. T.J. Hawkinson had 3 receptions for 39 yards. Jordan Addison had 2 receptions for 20 yards and 1 touchdown. And Jalen Naylor had 1 reception for 16 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback twice, but it's surprising that this Brian Flores defense was not able to pressure Caleb Williams more and force him to make any turnovers. So, overall, this was kind of a boring game. Bears moved to 7-3 and become the first team or the leading team in the NFC North with the Lions loss. So, overall, they're just going to continue to find ways to win. And the Vikings, I think, are going to take a slide the second half of the season. Especially playing teams like the Packers, Seahawks, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, and Lions, and Packers. Y'all are going to probably take a hit here moving forward. Next up on the docket, we have the Jaguars-Chargers game. This was one of the bigger surprises from the weekend, and it kind of shows why the Chargers might be frauds. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the LA Chargers 35-6. All right, Justin Herbert, he went 10 of 18, 81 yards and 1 interception on the day. Trey Lance came in, and he went 3 for 8 for 37 yards. I don't think Justin Herbert got injured, no? Oh, no, he might have gotten injured. At least they're heading into the bye week, but Justin Herbert might be injured. So that's probably why Trey Lance came in. Justin Herbert was also the team's leading rusher with 3 carries for 21 yards. Kamani Vidal had 5 carries for 13 yards, and Amar Johnson had 2 carries for 8 yards. And so that's pitiful numbers for this rough and tough LA Chargers team. Receiving-wise, Keenan Allen led the team with 4 receptions for 53 yards. Ordan Gaston II had 2 receptions for 41 yards. Ladd McConkey had 3 receptions for 13 yards. Trey Harris had 1 reception for 12 yards, and that's literally everybody that had a reception. And defensive-wise, they were not able to register a single sack, but they did pick off Trevor Lawrence once, which probably helped them even the score out throughout the game. Speaking of Trevor Lawrence, it wasn't a beautiful day by him, but it was still a good day. He went 14 of 22, 153 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception on the day. Bashal Tutin was the lead rusher. He had 15 carries for 74 yards and 1 touchdown. Travis Etienne had himself a day, though. He had 19 carries for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hell, they even gave their third-string running back some touches. LaQuint Allen Jr. had 8 receptions for 36 yards. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was the recently added Jacoby Myers. He had 5 receptions for 64 yards. Johnny Munt had 2 receptions for 25 yards. Parker Washington had 2 receptions for 20 yards. Tim Patrick had 3 receptions for 20 yards and 1 touchdown. And that's really anybody else I'm really going to know in this situation. And defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback 4 times. So they were able to get after Justin Herbert and Trey Lance. So, as I expected, I feel like that this Jaguars defense can carry the team when they're on. But that's the problem. They have to be on, and they will be able to stop the run and the quarterback as well. Overall, this is a good win by the Jaguars, a really good win. And coming up to a semi-easier streak here with the Cardinals this week and the Titans next week, that could be them advancing to 8-4 on the season. Obviously, they have teams like the Colts twice coming up and the Broncos, but overall, they could end up in a higher wild card seed, and we could see Trevor Lawrence taking on his second attempt at going deep into the playoff here. And Chargers, just rest up on your bye week, and good luck. Next up, we have the Buccaneers versus the Bills. Now, you're going to see a lot of things online saying, oh my God, Josh Allen, he had such an amazing game. I'm going to let you know that he didn't. Like, from watching the footage, he second-guessed himself every time, and he had to play superhero ball just to win the game. Looking at Josh Allen, he went 19 for 30, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the day. On the ground, he also had 6 carries for 40 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yes, everybody's like, oh my God, 6 total touchdowns. Yeah, but he still put his team behind with those 2 interceptions. And he barely had over a 50% completion rating. So, a couple more drop passes, and we're talking about a more iffy-looking game outlook for this team as well. James Cook, he had 16 carries for 48 yards. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Terrell Shavers with 4 receptions for 90 yards and 1 touchdown. James Cook had 3 receptions for 66 yards and a touchdown. Ty Johnson had 2 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. Gabe Davis had 3 receptions for 40 yards. And Dawson Knox had 1 reception for 26 yards, Defensive-wise, they intercepted Baker once. And they pressured the quarterback a little bit, but this defense is what kind of concerns me moving forward, is that they've allowed a total of 74 points over the last 2 games, especially passing-wise, which did a lot of damage. Or even rushing as well. Moving over to the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, he went 16 for 28. 173 yards and 1 touchdown to 1 interception as well. He also had 5 carries for 39 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. Rushing-wise, Sean Tucker, he had 19 carries for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was the team's lead rusher. Rachaad White had 10 carries for 51 yards. Receiving-wise, Sterling Shepard led the charge with 4 receptions for 54 yards. Emeka Mbuka had 5 receptions for 40 yards. Sean Tucker had 2 receptions for 34 yards and a touchdown. And Cade Otton had 2 receptions for 28 yards. Defensive-wise, they obviously intercepted Josh Allen twice, but they really weren't able to apply too much pressure to Josh. And ultimately, it was just Josh Allen making the mistakes that made it a close game. And ultimately, I feel like this Buccaneers team, what is their? They're 6-4. They lost 2 straight here. They might lose 3 straight going up against the Rams. That's going to be another top-tier matchup on Sunday Night Football, no less. So, I feel like they will bounce back, but they fall to 6-4. And this Panthers team is lurking. They're looking and waiting for this Buccaneers team to make a wrong step and for them to spring on that. Steelers-Bengals. Aaron Rodgers, when he was in, he went 9 for 15, 116 yards and 1 touchdown. He eventually went out and it was found out that he fractured a small piece in his right wrist or left wrist. So at least this is non-throwing wrist, but we still got to see how the Steelers are going to tackle that moving forward. Mason Rudolph, he came in. He went 12 for 16, 127 yards, and 1 touchdown on the day. Honestly, was fairly efficient through the air when he came in. Jaylen Warren was their lead rusher. He had 10 carries for 62 yards. Kenneth Gainwell had 9 carries for 24 yards. Receiving-wise, their lead receivers was former Eagle Kenneth Gainwell, who had 7 receptions for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. Darnell Washington had 4 receptions for 27 yards. DK Metcalf had 5 receptions for 49 yards. And Pat Freiermuth had 1 reception for 19 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback once, but they weren't able to apply too much pressure, surprisingly, only registering 1 sack. And, yeah, so that's slightly concerning coming out of the Steelers camp here. A team that is trying to extend their lead in the AFC North, and they're only 1 game ahead of the Ravens. So, 1 wrong move, and they could fall back. This Bengals offense, Joe Flacco went 23 of 40, 119 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception on the day. Chase Brown, he had 18 carries for 99 yards. He was the team's leading rusher. Receiving-wise, T. Higgins had 3 receptions for 63 yards and 1 touchdown. Noah Fant had 5 receptions for 36 yards. Jamar Chase had 3 receptions for 30 yards. And Chase Brown had 6 receptions for 28 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback once as well. So not really applying too much pressure to Rodgers or Rudolph here. So that is slightly concerning that this defense is not finding a way to step up. And with how things are shaking out and how if they're playing the Patriots this week and then they're playing the Bengals on Thanksgiving. Oh, wow. Okay, that's going to be a fun game. They're playing the Ravens on Thanksgiving. This is not an easy stretch coming up for the Bengals. Patriots, Ravens, Bills, Ravens. We're just going to have to see how they play out, but Joe Burrow and the Bengals might miss the playoffs once again this season. Blitz through this game here. The 49ers beat the Cardinals 41-22. Brock Purdy in his first game back, he went 19 for 26, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. On the ground, Christian McCaffrey led the charge. He had 13 carries for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. Receiver-wise, their lead receiver is George Kittle, who had 6 receptions for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. Juwan Jennings had 4 receptions for 54 yards. He was right behind George Kittle. Christian McCaffrey had 5 receptions for 40 yards and 1 touchdown, and that's really anybody of note here. And defensive-wise, they did not register a single sack on the day, but they were able to pick Jacoby Brissett off twice. So I guess that's a bonus. Jacoby Brissett. So here's a fun fact for you. Jacoby Brissett, with this stat line here, set the NFL record for most completions by a quarterback in a single game. He went 47 of 57. I never thought that in my days that I will ever see a quarterback throw for nearly 60 times in a single game. That's not how the NFL should work. He threw for 452 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the day. Rushing-wise, they barely did any. Zonovan Knight was their leading rusher. He had 5 carries for 24 yards and 1 touchdown. Amari DiMarcado had 5 carries for 8 yards, and Michael Carter had 2 carries for 6 yards. Receiving-wise, these are going to be some Madden numbers here. Michael Wilson had 15 receptions for 185 yards. Trey McBride had 10 receptions for 115 yards and 1 touchdown. Greg Dortch had 2 receptions for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. Michael Carter had 5 receptions for 22 yards. Zonovan Knight had 4 receptions for 21 yards. Xavier Weaver had 2 receptions for 15 yards. And that's really anybody of note, but there are still 3 more receivers that had like 3+ receptions on the day. Defensive-wise, they were not able to stop this powerful 49ers offense, only registering 1 sack on Purdy, and ultimately not turning the ball over or forcing any turnovers. With how things are kind of stacking up for the 49ers, it's going to be a battle for them to get into the NFL playoff picture, especially with the Seahawks and the Rams being 1 game ahead of them in their own division. So they're going to be vying for one of those coveted wild card spots, which they will probably get, in my opinion. And Cardinals, I don't even know what to say. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams beating the Seattle Seahawks 21-19. Sam Darnold, he went 29 of 44, 279 yards, and 4 interceptions on the day. Kenneth Walker was the lead rusher. He had 16 carries for 67 yards and 1 touchdown. Zach Charbonnet had 11 carries for 37 yards as well. Receiving-wise, obviously Jackson Smith and Jigbo was their leading receiver. He had 9 receptions for 107 yards. A.J. Barner was right behind him. He had 10 receptions for 70 yards. Kenneth Walker had 3 receptions for 44 yards. Rashid Shaheed had 2 receptions for 27 yards. Cooper Kupp had 3 receptions for 23 yards. And Zach Charbonnet had 2 receptions for 10 yards. Defensive-wise, they were not able to sack the quarterback a single time, nor force any turnovers as well. Though I feel like they were able to get enough pressure to keep this a close game. Matthew Stafford, he went 15 for 28, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns through the air. Kyren Williams was the lead rusher. He had 12 carries for 91 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Receiving-wise, Puka Nacua led the team with 7 receptions for 75 yards. Tyler Higbee had 1 reception for 23 yards. Colby Parkinson had 2 receptions for 14 yards and 1 touchdown. And that's really anybody of note, in my opinion. Davante Adams had 1 reception for 1 yard and 1 touchdown. There you go. Defense. They were able to intercept Sam Darnold twice with Cameron Kitchens having 2 of those interceptions on the day. But they weren't able to sack Darnold, so I feel like they were able to apply a lot more pressure to Darnold than the game shows. But overall, this was still a good game by both teams. Rams advanced to 8-2. Seahawks fall to 7-3. Both are going to continue to battle out for this NFC West. The Seahawks have the Titans, Vikings, Falcons coming up. Those should be easy games, and that's before they face the Rams again. Rams, taking a look at it, they have the Buccaneers, Panthers, Cardinals, Lions. So moving forward, it looks like the Seahawks might have the easier path forward. But that's just going to have to be a wait and see how they kind of handle their situations. The Denver Broncos beat the Kansas City Chiefs 22-19, excuse me. Bo Nix went 24-37, 295 yards through the air. R.J. Harvey, he had 11 carries for 30 yards on the ground. He was the team's leading rusher. Jaleel McLaughlin had 6 carries for 19 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Receiving-wise, Troy Franklin, he had 4 receptions for 84 yards. Pat Bryant, he had 5 receptions for 82 yards. Cortland Sutton had 4 receptions for 59 yards. Excuse me. Evan Ingram had 4 receptions for 33 yards. R.J. Harvey had 3 receptions for 22 yards. Yeah, so, and this Broncos defense was able to sack Mahomes thrice, but it felt like they got a lot more pressure on Mahomes, in my opinion. And they were able to intercept Mahomes once as well. Speaking of Mahomes, he went 29 of 45, 276 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception on the day. Kareem Hunt was their lead rusher. He had 13 carries for 59 yards and 1 touchdown. Patrick Mahomes had one carry for 3 yards. So that shows you how effective that this rushing offense was. And receiving-wise, their lead receiver, nice to see him back at the top of the receptions list. It is Travis Kelce. He had 9 receptions for 91 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Tyquan Thornton had 1 reception for 61 yards. Hollywood Brown had 4 receptions for 40 yards. Rashid Rice had 4 receptions for 6 receptions for 38 yards. And Xavier Worthy had 3 receptions for 25 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback twice, but they weren't able to force any turnovers to possibly give Kansas City the lead that they desperately needed. And so with this, Kansas City falls 2 games back from a wild card spot. And due to the Jaguars, who are in the 7th place, having the tiebreaker over the Chiefs already from earlier this season. Obviously, this is a tough loss. Their second loss in like 5 years or 7 years to the Broncos. So, Broncos, we'll touch on them in a second here. But yeah, they're going to have to face them again later in the season. And moving forward, this ain't quite an easy schedule for the Chiefs. Colts, Cowboys on Thanksgiving, Texans, Chargers, Broncos. And some of those teams can be iffy, but some of these teams I really believe in, like the Colts and the Cowboys. And possibly the Texans, depends on who's playing quarterback. So, Chiefs don't have an easy path moving forward and need to stay above 500 to have a chance to get into the playoffs here. Broncos, yeah, y'all got the win, but it's just not convincing, and I still feel like this is like the 2023 Eagles team, or this is like the 2020 Steelers team where they look good and then they just completely shit the bed in the second half of the season. Next up, we have Ravens-Browns. This was an interesting game. The Ravens only beat the Browns 23-16. Lamar, he went 14 of 25, 193 yards, and 2 interceptions through the air. On the ground, Derrick Henry led the charge. He had 18 carries for 103 yards and 1 touchdown. Mark Andrews, he had 1 carry for 35 yards and 1 touchdown on the day on the ground. And Lamar Jackson had 4 carries for 10 yards. Receiving-wise, Zay Flowers, he had 3 receptions for 78 yards. He led the team in receiving. Mark Andrews, he had 3 receptions for 32 yards. Keaton Mitchell had 2 receptions for 23 yards. Derrick Henry had 2 receptions for 19 yards. And Isaiah Likely had 2 receptions for 15 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback once, and they were able to sack the quarterback 3 times, ultimately making them somewhat efficient in the pass rush, which is something that they've been lacking. And they get themselves to 500. Obviously, in this game, Dillon Gabriel went down with a head injury. And so when he was in, he went 7 for 10, 68 yards on the day. But who came in for Dillon Gabriel when he was injured? Well, then it was none other than Shedeur Sanders. He went 14 for 6, 47 yards, and 1 interception. He looked like hot ass in as quarterback, which is what I've been trying to tell you, but everybody's been clamoring for him to start since, like, training camp even started. Rushing-wise, their lead rusher was Quinshon Judkins, who had 17 carries for 59 yards. Receiving, Cedric Tillman led the charge. He had 3 receptions for 52 yards. Harold Fanning Jr. had 2 receptions for 26 yards. Jerry Jeudy had 3 receptions for 21 yards, and that's anybody I'm really going to touch on here. Defensive-wise, Myles Garrett had 4 receptions, or 4 sacks. My apologies. And they had 2 interceptions on Lamar. And they had a total of 5 to 6 sacks on Lamar during this game, ultimately getting all up in his grill here. Myles Garrett continues to be a shining spot for this dreadful Browns team. He's on pace to have 25.5 sacks on the season, which would break the NFL single season sack record. So it's going to be interesting moving forward to see if he can maintain this production even with such a bad NFL team. Lastly, we have Monday Night Football here. We have the Cowgirls versus the Raiders. The Cowboys beat the Raiders 33-16. Dak Prescott went 25 of 33, 268 yards and 4 touchdowns on the day. Rushing-wise, their lead rusher was Javonte Williams, who had 22 carries for 93 yards. Receiving-wise, George Pickens had 9 receptions for 144 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. CeeDee Lamb had 5 receptions for 66 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Hunter Lepuc had 3 receptions for 36 yards. Jake Ferguson had 4 receptions for 16 yards and 1 touchdown. And Ryan Flournoy had 1 reception for 2 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback 4 times, applying significant enough pressure to Geno Smith and this Raiders offense to put them behind the 8 ball. Geno Smith, he went 27 of 42, 238 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception on the day. He also was the team's leading rusher, which is a problem. He had 4 carries for 14 yards. Ashton Jeanty only had 6 carries for 7 yards. Receiving-wise, Brock Bowers led the team. He had 7 receptions for 72 yards. Trey Tucker had 4 receptions for 47 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett had 3 receptions for 33 yards. Ashton Jeanty had 6 receptions for 27 yards, and that's really anybody of note here. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback once, but they were not able to apply pressure to Dak Prescott whatsoever, which allowed him to carve up this Raiders secondary, especially in this second quarter. Ultimately, Cowboys are coming off of that upsetting news of Marshawn Kneeland taking his own life. So it's to be expected that they would come out the following week on prime time and blow out whoever they are playing. Now let's see, they're coming up into a rough part of the schedule. Eagles, Chiefs, Lions. If they're the real deal, they got to win 2 out of the 3 of those to even maintain maintain their relevancy in the conversation of winning the division. And Raiders, y'all, just the Raiders. Whatever. I don't really care about y'all. Alright, so there really is no news for quick notes this past week. You have Jamar Chase getting suspended for spitting on Jalen Ramsey. But besides that, there's really nothing I can touch on. So, that means one thing. That it is time to pick this weekend's upcoming games. Alright, so last week I went 11-4 in my picks, a lot better than I've been doing the past few weeks. So that puts me at an overall of 108-55 this year. Looking at my picks last season, I went 199-85. So we're really going to have to step on the gas moving forward here if we're going to break that 200, which is what I really want. On Thursday Night Football this week, we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Texans. Give me the Bills. I think Josh Allen will find a way to improve off of that performance that he gave us against the Bucs, and he'll be more safe with the ball moving forward. Steelers, Bears. We don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play, and so that really shifts my head one way or the other. If it's Mason Rudolph, give me the Bears. I think the Bears are a good enough team to come out here and play a high level of football, and the Steelers might have some growing pains with Mason Rudolph, and I'm not sure he can win a close game, which is what I think that this game will be. Probably being somewhere in the lower numbers, like 21-17. Also, Thursday Night Football, I think the Bills might blow them out. 45 to 28. Patriots, Bengals, give me the Patriots. This is just a team that's kind of a buzzsaw right now, running through the AFC. So I feel like they're just going to absolutely decimate this Bengals defense. Give me the Patriots 38 to 17. Or no, 38 to 13. Next up we have Giants, Lions. Give me the Giants here. The Lions here. My apologies. Jesus. I just feel like coming off of that loss to the Eagles, the Lions are going to find a way to win here against this lowly Giants team, which we still don't even know who's starting this weekend, whether it's Jackson Dart, or Jameis Winston. So it's more of a wait and see at this point, but I believe in the Lions either way who starts. So give me the Lions beating the Giants in a closer game than people think, 28-20. Vikings, Packers. I don't like where the Packers are right now as a team, and right now I'm going to take the Packers because I trust them more than the Vikings at this point. So give me the Packers beating up on the lowly Vikings in a close match, 17-14. Seahawks, Titans, give me the Seahawks. I don't really see a world where the Titans beat the Seahawks at this point. So give me the Seahawks, I don't know, 1,000,000-1. On a serious note though, give me the Seahawks 38-10. No, screw it, 41-10, even more. Pile it on. This is an interesting matchup. We have Chiefs, Colts. Now, Chiefs are favored minus 190, and Colts are the underdogs at plus 160. It's in Kansas City, but I still feel like coming off a bye week, Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones are going to get right, and moving forward, they're going to find a way to win. So give me the Colts with the technical upset over the Chiefs in a tight battle, 27-24 on a walk-off field goal. Jets, Ravens. Give me the Ravens here. I think they're going to run over this Jets defense. Give me the Ravens here. 37-10. 37-10, yeah. Next up, we have the Browns, Raiders. Now, we were just informed, I just had breaking news, that Shedeur Sanders is officially making his first start at quarterback against the Raiders, but I still feel like the Raiders have a better chance. I still feel like they put up a little bit of a fight against the Dallas Cowboys, and as long as they can scheme up protection against Myles Garrett, I think that they will play a pretty decent game. So give me the Raiders and Browns in a low-scoring game, 20-7, or give me the Raiders over the Browns, scoring 20-17. Jaguars, Cardinals, give me the Jaguars. I feel like the Jaguars are going to use that win that they just had this past weekend and catapult themselves to getting a top-tier wild card spot. Because I don't think they're going to catch the Colts this season, but I feel like they're going to find a way to get that 5th seed in the AFC playoff picture. So give me the Jaguars beating the Cardinals 30-14. Eagles, Cowboys. Give me the Eagles. I just think that they're going to find a way to win, and this defense is going to shut down Dak Prescott and ultimately put him flat on his back several times, and maybe even get a pick off for one of our defensive backs here. And I feel like the Eagles offense, this is the time they have to show up. All right? If they're going to show up, now's the time. Play a bit of offense. Scheme up better route combinations moving forward. That's all I got to say. And use Jalen Hurts' legs, too. Falcons, Saints. I don't know why the Saints are favored. Minus 130, but give me the Falcons winning here. In a probably another close battle. 24-21. Buccaneers, Rams. Give me the Rams. Matthew Stafford is playing at such a high level right now, and although I think the Bucs have a really solid chance of coming back and bouncing back, I just think the Rams are a better team right now, and they will find a way to win against Baker and the Bucs here. So give me the Rams in an NFC showdown, 38-35. Panthers, 49ers. This is Monday Night Football. I just think the 49ers are going to find a way to win. Panthers, as much as I do want them to upset the 49ers, because that would be really funny to me, give me the 49ers here. That just makes more sense in this entire situation. And with Brock Purdy being healthy and slinging the rock pretty well right now, it's hard for me to go against the 49ers. So give me the 49ers in a really tight game, 21-20. All right, so that's it for this week's episode of the Flying with the Flock podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed, and leave a like and subscribe down below. That is much appreciated. All your support does not go unnoticed, so thank you all. And until next time, I've been your host, Matt, and remember, go Birds.